Dark screen. Sounds of distant screaming. Fire crackles. Static flickers in and out. A soft, terrified voice, alien, watery, musical, whispers. To any species, anywhere, we beg you. Please, our skies are on fire. Our children are being taken. The Council, they will not help us. They have left us to die. Please, if mercy still lives among the stars, hear us. Cut to silence. Then a gruff human voice responds, cool and sharp as a blade. Velcara 9? This is Commander Jace Thorn. Sit tight. Help is coming. Boom. Cut to a shot of warships breaking through orbit, human banners ripping across the sky. Fade to black with the title. We begged for mercy, only humans answered the call. The sky above Velcara 9 was not red by nature. It was a soft teal once, soothing and warm like the people who lived beneath it. But now it bled with fire. The capital's twin towers crumbled under orbital bombardment, ancient stone turning to ash as amphibious figures rushed through the flooded streets, scholars carrying scrolls, children gripping soaked cloth dolls. The screams came muffled through the water-choked air. And still, no help came. Inside the broken hall of harmony, a frail Velcari elder hunched over a crystalline transmitter, hands trembling as his voice cracked into the galaxy. This is Priest Elder Vili of Velcara 9. To any species, anywhere, we beg you. Our cities fall. Our libraries burn. Our children taken. The Skarn have come. The Council will not help us. Please, if mercy still breathes among the stars, hear us. The signal shimmered out, swallowed by the void. High above, Council World's pristine towers gleamed in apathy. Around a long oval table, alien diplomats adjusted silks and exocets as the Velcari broadcast echoed across the chamber. The Avinic ambassador, plated in golden exocarapace, tilted his head. Velcara's loss is regrettable. But intervention violates Resolution 9. A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. They have contributed much, murmured another. But war with the Skarn is undesirable. The council chair, a translucent being pulsing with faint lights, passed final judgment with a subtle flicker. Let the fire run its course. The Velcari are not critical. The signal was archived. Marked non-actionable. 3 sectors away, in a human scrapyard orbiting the abandoned moon of Branisfor, a battered communications relay hissed to life. The message wasn't meant to reach this place. It had been scattered across open bands, too desperate for encryption. But that's why it found him. Commander Jace Thorn was under a fusion rig, hands black with grease, welding a hull plate to a derelict gunship. He didn't flinch when the static kicked on, just slid the visor up. The Velcari voice played through the rusted comms speaker, trembling, near tears. The words clung to the stale air like smoke. If mercy still breathes among the stars, hear us. Jace stared at the speaker long after it went quiet. He looked older than his years. Scars lined his jaw and neck. His eyes, once bright, now held that distant look, the one soldiers wore when they buried friends without a war memorial. He'd left the Navy years ago. The flags, the parades, they stopped meaning anything after what the Council let happen to Havern Station. But this voice? This wasn't politics. This was a dying world asking not to die alone. He stood, dusted off his hands, and clicked open the encrypted channel in his wrist pad. Haven Command, this is Thorn. Call in the crew. We're taking flight. 6 hours later, the hangar bay of Outpost Haven buzzed with low chatter and uneasy silence. Veterans of forgotten skirmishes and rogue salvage ops stood shoulder to shoulder, waiting for the call they never expected. Thorn stepped onto the central deck. No podium. No anthem. Just a tired man in worn armor. They begged, he said simply, and no one else picked up. A few faces frowned. A few nodded. Velcara 9 isn't on any strategic corridor. No black ice deposits. No military strongholds. The Council wrote them off. The Skarn want slaves, and they want no witnesses. A grizzled sniper in the back spoke up. You telling us we're picking a fight with the Skarn Dominion and the Council? No, Jace said. I'm saying we're choosing to matter. Just this once. Silence. Then a medic stepped forward. She was missing 2 fingers, left behind during their rescue on Calyx 4. She nodded. I'm in. One by one, the crew gave their answer. Some with words. Some with quiet eyes. None with hesitation. Velcara 9 rotated quietly beneath a bruised sky as the rogue fleet reassembled in orbit, 8 ships, scarred but stubborn. Some were ex-military. Others were repurposed mining haulers bristling with retrofitted railguns. None carried a flag. Thorn stood on the bridge of the Haven's Wrath, eyes locked on the planet's surface. Fires still burned. Life signs dwindling. Skarn patrols in low orbit, reported his comms officer. 2 cruisers armed. Not expecting us. He gave a sharp nod. Good. Let's introduce ourselves. The ships burned toward the atmosphere. No fanfare, no announcement. Just the growl of thrusters and the quiet vow that echoed through every cockpit. We're here. As the clouds split, and the Valkyrie saw a human drop craft tear across the red sky, the elder who had sent the message fell to his knees in disbelief. They came, he whispered. The sky above Velcara 9 was not red by nature. But in that moment, it turned brighter, for fire no longer meant death alone. It meant someone had heard. It meant they were not alone anymore. Commander Jace Thorne stood at the edge of the drop bay, helmet under one arm, staring into the void as Haven's Wrath cruised silently over the burning hemisphere of Velcara 9. Below, a dead city flickered, dim lights barely holding against smoke and shadow. Still got that bad habit of answering lost causes, came a voice behind him. He didn't turn. He didn't need to. Only one person still called him out like that. Good to see you too, Ren, Jace muttered. Captain Ren Halley strolled up, hands in the pockets of her armored coat. She wore a crooked grin like it was armor, but her eyes were sharp. The kind that saw through command facades. You do realize this might finally get us killed, she said. Long overdue. She nodded once, serious now. The rest of the crew's on board. Even Liz. That caught Jace's attention. Liz hadn't seen action in years, not since her legs were replaced with carbon steel braces after that disaster on Deneb Prime. She say why? She said, and I quote, "Screw the Council. Someone's got to teach the galaxy what humans actually do when it matters." Then she started loading grenades. Jace allowed himself a brief smirk. Sounds like her. The war room buzzed with a low hum. The table at the center projected a rotating 3D scan of Velcara 9's surface. Cities in ruin, enemy patrols crawling through streets like ticks. 7 key refugee zones still lit green. Liz hobbled in, mechanical legs clicking softly against the floor. Her voice cut through the noise. They're herding survivors toward the central crater valley. Not a slaughter yet. Slaves. Thorne frowned. Skarn don't waste energy on negotiations. Ren leaned in. That means we're still early. First wave is containment. Next wave burns everything. Any sign of Council eyes? Thorne asked. None, Liz said flatly. They've washed their hands already. Jace stared at the map. 7 green dots. All flickering. We split. Ground team hits landing point Delta. Ren, take the North District. Liz, Crater Valley with me. No speeches. No rules. Just keep those dots from going dark. The room fell quiet. These were all professionals. Veterans. Exiles. Ghosts. They didn't fight for medals anymore. They fought because silence never sat right in their chests. Ren's team dropped first. Their pod screamed through cloud cover, punching into the war-torn district like a thunderbolt. Streets erupted in fire and confusion. Skarn foot soldiers turned too late, shredded by rotating coil guns before alarms even finished ringing. Ren barked orders without pause, boots crunching glass as she moved building to building. Inside an old archive, they found Valkyrie huddled in flooded chambers, clutching ancient scrolls and their children equally tight. She knelt beside one. "We're human," she said gently. "We're not here to take anything. We're here to end this." The Valkyrie blinked, lips quivering. Then nodded. Elsewhere, Thorn's boots hit soil near the crater valley. Smoke rolled across the landscape like a living thing. In the distance, the scream of engines and Skarn roars echoed. His squad fanned out, stealth-cloaked, camo-adapted, but human in every movement, precise, violent, efficient. They moved through the dead brush fast, slitting Skarn throats before the enemy realized there was resistance on the ground. Up ahead, a convoy of hovercrafts rolled toward a containment camp. Thorn pointed. "We cut them off at the ridge. Scatter them. No prisoners." Liz rolled a grenade across the dirt. "I brought the loud kind." The explosion was biblical. Flames engulfed the convoy. Hovercrafts flipped, twisting mid-air before crashing into one another. Screams followed, short-lived. The humans swarmed in behind it like wolves through broken snow. Thorn himself tackled a Skarn officer, driving a blade through its throat before the creature's claws could reach his side. Another charged, shot down mid-lunge by Lissa's auto rifle. They advanced in silence until they reached the camp fence. Inside, hundreds of Valkyrie. Starving. Shaking. Watching the chaos beyond the barrier with wide, wet eyes. Thorn approached the gate, rifle lowered. One of the Valkyrie, a young mother, stepped forward. She was shaking. "You're not them." "No," Thorn said. "We're the ones who showed up." Later, at a makeshift rally point, the ground teams regrouped. They cleared 3 camps. Saved almost 2,000 lives. Wounded were stabilized. Valkyrie medics worked beside human corpsmen without a word needing translation. Jay sat against the cracked wall of a ruined temple, sipping recycled water from a dented flask. A Valkyrie elder approached, tall, with skin like tarnished jade. "You fight like Skarn," he said softly. "But you cry when it's over." Jace didn't look up. "We remember what it costs. Why help us?" "Your council said no. We're not theirs. Haven walks its own path." The elder bowed. "Then we will walk it beside you." Above, in low orbit, a Skarn dreadship adjusted course. A new signal pinged in, encrypted urgent. Inside the command chamber, Warlord Krezran narrowed his eyes as the footage played. Humans. Slaughtering Skarn. Freeing prisoners. They weren't diplomats. They weren't mercs. They were angry. Coordinated. Alive. Krezran turned to his lieutenant, voice low and smooth. "They kill with fury, yet shield the weak. Curious." The dreadship adjusted orbit again, this time, with purpose. "Prepare the purge fleet. Let us see what drives these animals to mercy." On the ground, Jace walked through a line of resting Valkyrie. Some asleep, some whispering songs. A child ran up to him, holding something in webbed hands, a tiny sculpture of a winged creature. She pressed it into his hand, looking up with silent thanks. He crouched, gently ruffling the gills behind her ear. "We're not gods," he said. "Just too damn stubborn to let good people die." Behind him, the stars shifted, bright specks blinking into alignment. The Dominion had noticed. But so had the rest of the galaxy. The rain came suddenly, hissing against burning metal, steam coiling around shattered buildings like smoke from a dying god. The Valkyrie survivors watched it fall with wide eyes. For them, water meant life. But today, even the rain tasted of ash. Commander Jace Thorn stood in the center of what used to be a courtyard. The ground was scorched, bodies cooling in the mud, Skarn and human alike. His rifle dangled at his side, heavy with heat. A medic moved past him, crouched beside a wounded Valkyrie boy. The child whimpered until her gloved hand touched his gilled cheek. She smiled once, then injected him with a stabilizer and began bandaging the jagged burn that ran down his side. Jace turned away. Behind him, Captain Ren Halley knelt by a crumbling wall, speaking softly with a group of huddled Valkyrie. She wasn't using translation tech. She didn't need it. Her tone did the talking. One of the Valkyrie, a young male, eyes silver with fear, asked in hesitant galactic standard, "Why do you stay?" Ren looked him dead in the eye. "Because no one else did." The storm passed quickly. It always did on Valkyra 9. The atmosphere had thinned after years of mining, another gift from the councils. Resource integration treaties. Now, rain only delayed the fire. Inside the ruins of the Hall of Echoes, the human and Valkyrie teams gathered around a holodeck built from spare parts and salvaged comms. A map flickered above it. 7 red markers pulsed across the terrain. "Skarn patrols," said Liz, pointing to the cluster forming a ring. "They're organizing." Jace leaned in. "That means command structure. No more scavenger squads. A fleet's coming." Ren crossed her arms. "We poked the hive, now the queen's sniffing around." A rustle behind them. Elder Vili, the same priest who'd sent the plea into the stars, stepped into the room. His robes were soaked, torn, but he stood straight. "I have seen mercy with teeth," he said. "And now I fear what comes next." Jace nodded. "Then we sharpen ours." In orbit, the lead Skarn dreadship sliced through the void, black steel, bristling with weapons shaped like a fong. Inside its command bay, Warlord Krezran studied footage of the ground battles. His eyes, flat and yellow, betrayed no emotion, but his tendrils curled with interest. He slowed one video, watching a human drag a wounded Valkyrie behind cover, shielding her with his body. A Skarn soldier charged. The human spun and shot without flinching. Krezran tilted his head. "Curious creatures," he murmured. "They kill with wrath, but mourn when it's done." His second-in-command, Trelk, hissed, "They are inefficient." "No," Krezran replied. "They are dangerous." Back on the surface, Liz was working with 2 Valkyrie engineers beside the collapsed remains of a water distribution node. "We can rig a plasma coil through the aqueduct," she said, fitting wiring around a cracked pillar. "If we post-charge it, it'll arc like a grid and fry anything Skarn that touches the wall." The younger Valkyrie engineer blinked. "You make weapons from our life water?" Liz looked up, not apologizing. "Your life water just became your shield." The Valkyrie elder placed a hand on the coil. "Then we help." It wasn't just humans building defenses anymore. Hours later, Jace walked the perimeter of the main refugee camp. The place had shifted. Tents were reinforced. Defensive turrets hummed. Humans trained Valkyrie teenagers to fire low-recoil weapons. Not for war, just survival. A group of children played beside a supply crate. One mimicked the human soldiers, saluting with 3 fingers. The others giggled. Jace smiled faintly, then turned as a shadow moved toward him. Vili approached slowly, holding a small device. "This was in our temple's archive," he said, offering it. Jace took it, eyes narrowing. "A power crystal. Rare. High grade. This could run a battleship's core for a week," he muttered. Vili nodded. "Then let it power your shield." Jace looked at him. "You trust us?" Vili's voice was low, but steady. "You came when gods did not." Trust was earned in blood. Dusk fell again, fast and bruised. At the edge of the crater valley, Skarn scout teams moved through the hills, but this time, they found mines, tripwires, and dead men waiting. Human snipers fired in synchrony. Skarn fell without ever raising their weapons. Precision over volume. Strategy over slaughter. Inside the camp, Ren monitored the incoming fleet signature. 3 dreadships, 20 escort class. Full war formation, she muttered. Liz tapped into the network. "They're here for annihilation, not prisoners." Jace stepped up behind them. "Then we hold." Ren glanced at him. "And if they breach the line?" He looked out the window at the darkening sky. "Then we teach them what happens when mercy bites back." Later that night, thunder cracked across the horizon. Not weather, engines. The Skarn were descending. Jace stood before a wall of civilians turned fighters. Valkyrie, armed and armored, stood beside his people. No flags. No ranks. Just eyes filled with something he hadn't seen in a long time. Conviction. He raised his voice, calm and deliberate. "I'm not here to give you hope," he said. "Hope is weak. Hope waits." He took one step forward. "I'm here because you shouldn't have to beg to live. And you sure as hell shouldn't die forgotten." Behind him, a cheer rose, not from soldiers, but from survivors who had stopped waiting. As the first enemy shuttle screamed through the clouds, lighting the sky in orange flame, Jace turned to Ren. "You think they're ready?" She loaded her rifle, cocked her head. "No. But we are." The monsters had come. And the humans, the ones called monsters by the Council, were already standing in the fire. The first dreadship cast its shadow across Velcara 9 before it even entered the atmosphere. It moved without urgency, like it knew the outcome had already been written. On the surface, Commander Jace Thorne stood beneath the smoke-stained sky, watching the silhouette drift across the clouds. His hands were steady. His jaw clenched once, then relaxed. This wasn't fear. He didn't have time for fear. Behind him, the final defense line was ready. Makeshift turrets built from salvaged drones. Repurposed plasma conduits strung through Valkyrie aqueducts. Shield nodes buried beneath stone and soil. Fragile. But alive. Captain Ren Halley stepped beside him, helmet under her arm. "Still think we're gonna make it?" Jace didn't answer right away. Then he said, "We'll make it hurt. That's enough." She smirked. Classic Thorne. Across the camp, Valkyrie elders sang beneath their breath as they walked the rows of civilians, painting symbols onto their skin: protection, remembrance, strength. One stopped to mark a child's cheek, then pressed a glowing bead into his palm. "Even the smallest star," she whispered, "can burn a hole in the dark." Up on the ridgeline, Liz checked the Haven cannon, jury-rigged from salvaged ship cores and a mining plasma bore. It shouldn't have worked. But it pulsed now, humming like something alive. Valkyrie engineers surrounded it, ready to die beside it if they had to. Liz scanned the horizon through her scope. "They're moving. 30 transports, low altitude. First wave in 60 seconds. Jace's voice crackled over comms. "Everyone to positions. No second line. We hold here." The enemy came fast. Transports roared in, cutting through cloud and smoke like sharks through black water. The Skarn poured out, armored and silent. No war cries. Just precision. Then the first mine detonated. Flames ripped through the forward line, sending charred debris and twisted metal skyward. Human sharpshooters fired in coordinated bursts, targeting commanders, medics, comms officers. The Skarn faltered, but only for a moment. Return fire came brutal and unrelenting. Turrets along the ridge screamed to life. Valkyrie shield bearers moved in squads beside human gunners. For every one that fell, another took their place. Inside the camp, the med bays filled. Screams. Burnt flesh. Blood, both red and blue. Still, no one ran. Jace moved from cover to cover, rifle barking, boots skidding over mud and ash. A Skarn officer lunged from the smoke. Jace met it head-on, slamming the butt of his rifle into its faceplate, then putting 2 rounds through its chest. Ren's voice crackled in his ear. "Second wave dropping south flank. Hold them. Haven cannons almost ready." Liz barked over comms from the ridge. "We've got one shot. Power core's unstable. It's gonna blow whether we fire or not." Jace took a breath. "Then make it count." In the chaos, something shifted. The Skarn regrouped, clever now. They began pushing through a weakness near the aqueduct barricade. 2 Valkyrie fell, one screaming as acid rounds tore through her side. Jace saw it. He turned to the Comtech. "Tell the Valkyrie, flood the trench now. They're still in it. Do it." Seconds later, the aqueduct burst, pouring thousands of liters of charged water through the lower trench. The Skarn inside convulsed as their armor shorted and bodies smoked. The Valkyrie caught in the surge were pulled free by humans stationed nearby. No line broke. Above, on the dreadship's bridge, Warlord Krezrun watched silently. They adapt, he said. Trelk growled. They bleed. They learn, Kresrin corrected. He turned to the helm. Initiate ground saturation. Sir, our forces are still. Do it. The sky turned white. Jace looked up just as the orbital cannon charged. He shouted into comms. Everyone down! Saturation strike! The blast hit a mile out, then another closer. The ground heaved, wind howled, fires tore sideways through buildings like paper. Ren's voice cracked in his ear. Third blast, right above the ridge! Jace snapped toward the horizon. Liz. Now. Fire it! On the ridge, Liz jammed her brace into the final activation switch and shoved the plasma rail forward. The Haven cannon groaned like a god waking. Blue light surged up its core, a sphere of heat brighter than the sun for one impossible second, then exploded skyward in a pillar of pure energy. It struck the dreadship mid-broadside. The hull didn't crack. It detonated. The shockwave hit 5 seconds later, collapsing trees, flipping transports, throwing soldiers and Skarn alike into the air. The sky was red now, truly red. Not from fire. From falling debris. The dreadship was gone. Inside the rubble of the forward command post, Jace blinked against smoke, ears ringing. He pulled himself from a broken support beam, coughing. Above him, the stars shone again. He pressed his calm. Status. Ren's voice returned. Rough. Breathing hard. We're still here. Liz? Silence. Then, still ticking, came the weak, clipped reply. Might need a new leg. Or 3. Jace chuckled once, then stopped. His ribs protested. Across the battlefield, what remained of the Skarn began retreating. And behind them, the Valkyrie stood. Not hiding. Not begging. Fighting. That night, the camp lit small fires. Not for warmth, just proof they were still alive. Jace sat beside Ren near one, both nursing cracked ribs and scorched gear. You ever think we'd make it this far? She asked. He didn't answer. Across the camp, a group of Valkyrie children placed flowers on a mound of human helmets and Skarn blades. A simple tribute. No speeches. Just memory. Ren looked out toward the crater rim. The council will see this. Jace nodded. Let them. Somewhere, in a dark chamber of council world, the footage had already arrived. Unfiltered. Untwisted. Just humans, standing between monsters and the forgotten. No one in the chamber spoke. Not yet. But the silence felt different now. Like fear. Morning arrived in silence. Not the silence of fear, but the heavy, hollow quiet that follows survival. The battlefield, now scattered with twisted metal and half-buried armor, steamed under the pale light of Valkyrie 9's second sun. Burnt soil, ruptured stone, broken machines, and life still standing among it. Commander Jace Thorne walked through the remains of the front line, one arm in a sling, chest bandaged. The pain didn't matter. Breathing was enough proof he still had a job to finish. A young Valkyrie girl stood beside a collapsed barricade, dragging a broken helmet toward a burial mound. She struggled, but didn't stop. Jace knelt beside her, lifted the helmet with one hand, and placed it carefully among the others. She said nothing. Just touched his arm briefly, then ran back toward the tents. In the command tent, Ren, Liz, and Vilai stood around a data console. The Skarn fleet had retreated. No new dropships. No more dreadships in orbit. For now, the planet belonged to its people again. They'll regroup eventually, Liz said, adjusting the brace on her leg. Jace entered, voice low. Then we'll regroup faster. Vilai turned, his gaze steady. We never thought survival was possible. Not after the council's silence. Not after the first fires. Jace gave a tired smile. Turns out fire can cook a meal or burn down a house. Depends who's holding the match. News spread fast. Within 30 hours of the Haven cannon's blast, leaked footage hit interstellar relays. Not propaganda. Just raw scenes captured by drone feeds and body cams, Skarn brutality, human precision, Valkyrie resilience. And something else. Mercy. Backed by steel. The videos were unsanctioned, illegal, and completely unstoppable. In a dim chamber on Council World, ambassadors watched in silence as one clip played on repeat. Jace shielding a wounded Valkyrie elder, dragging him to cover, then laying down suppressive fire with half his face bloodied. The chair's lights flickered. They defied Resolution 9. The Varnix ambassador hissed. They showed teeth to the Dominion. The Tarshian delegate folded her arms. They showed heart to everyone else. The room went quiet again. On Valkyra 9, recovery began. The humans didn't wait for gratitude. They repaired water lines, rewired power grids, and helped replant synth crops in broken soil. The Valkyrie worked beside them, not servants, not survivors. Partners. Ren stood in the middle of a rebuilt comm tower, rewiring a relay node. A Valkyrie engineer passed her a coil, fingers still slick with oil. You humans build fast, he said. She grinned. We're just impatient. Not reckless? That too. They both laughed. At the center of the camp, a makeshift memorial rose. Simple stones. No names carved yet. A human helmet and a Valkyrie scroll rested atop them, symbols of what they fought for and what they saved. Jace stood there alone for a while, watching the wind shift over the stones. Liz joined him quietly. You think it was worth it? She asked. Jace didn't answer immediately. Then he nodded toward the horizon, where Valkyrie children chased a drone shaped like a bird. We proved something, he said. To them. To the council. Maybe even to ourselves. She looked up. So, what now? Jace smiled without humor. Now we wait for the galaxy to flinch. It didn't take long. Within a solar week, outposts from 3 fringe species sent encrypted messages to Haven's Wrath requesting assistance, guidance, protection. Not from the Skarn. From neglect. Jace read them in silence. Then came the biggest shock. A coded diplomatic burst. Origin Council World. Contents, a summons. They wanted to talk. Ren looked at the message and raised an eyebrow. That's new. Jace shook his head. That's fear. In the council chamber, 2 weeks later, an image shimmered across a galactic broadcast screen. Jace Thorne standing beside Elder Vili, addressing the council not from their floor, but from Valkyra 9, under a flag stitched by Valkyrie hands and Earth veterans. Vili spoke first. When we screamed, you turned away. When we bled, you filed forms. When we begged, only one voice answered. And it was not divine. It was human. Then Jace stepped forward. You call us monsters. Apex predators. You think mercy is weakness because you've never had to earn it. You want to condemn us for defying your laws? Fine. We'll make better ones. The feed cut off. But not before millions saw the Valkyrie raise Earth's flag beside their own. Back at the camp, the celebrations were quiet. No parades. No speeches. Just music played softly over portable speakers while humans and Valkyries shared food, rebuilt homes, and wrote names on the memorial stones. A Valkyrie child climbed onto a pile of stone and raised a stick like a flag. Jace watched from afar, arms crossed, a slight smile tugging at his lips. Ren walked up beside him. You know what we just started, don't you? Yeah, he said. A problem. She nodded. A beautiful one. The stars above Valkyra 9 were clear that night. No dreadships. No satellites. Just space. Liz raised a glass of synthetic whiskey. To the ones who showed up. Ren lifted hers. To the ones who stayed. Jace looked toward the fire, then to the horizon. To the ones who'll come next, he said. They drank in silence. And behind them, the flags fluttered side by side, Valkyrie blue, and the deep iron gray of Earth. Together. Not for conquest. But as a warning. Mercy lives. And it bleeds if it must.